I bought 200 acres in the rolling hills of Napa Valley not because I wanted to escape, but because I needed to find something I didn't even know I'd lost until I stood on that dirt, the sun warm on my face, the air heavy with the smell of sage and old oaks. I called it Willow Creek, not for any grand reason, just because it felt right, like the land was whispering its name. My name's Tom, by the way, and this is the story of how a vineyard I built to honor my late wife got torn apart by a woman named Linda Grace in our local HOA, Queen Anne, how she ended up facing a decade behind bars. Back in 2018, I was a burned-out agronomist, 25 years in the fertilizer game, coaxing life out of dead fields while my own life felt like it was wilting. After losing Sarah to cancer, I couldn't stay in our old house in Sacramento. The quiet was too loud, you know? Sarah loved wine, loved the idea of growing something you could hold in a glass and taste the earth in. So when I found this Napa parcel half forgotten, with a crumbling 1890s farmhouse and water rights older than the county itself, I knew it was where I'd start over. I wasn't running from grief. I was planting something for her, for us. The land came with a deed inked in 1886, a faded signature tying me to every spring and aquifer under those hills. Those water rights. Ironclad, senior, the kind that makes developers sweat. I wasn't part of any HOA. Thank God me property lines stopped short of Crestview Estates, a shiny new gated community up the ridge, all manicured lawns and McMansions with koi ponds. They called it elegant living. I called it a country club for people who hate dirt. For a while, I was just the oddball down the valley, building solar panels, a stone tasting room, and rows of organic Pinot Noir vines with my own hands. Local crews helped good folks who knew the land like family. Every permit was filed, every tax paid, every inspection aced. I even invited the state AG board for coffee when they wanted soil samples. I was clean, proud, untouchable. Then Linda Grayson entered the picture. She was Crestview's HOA president, the kind of person who'd send you a certified letter for leaving your trash can out past 7 a.m. It started with a note, fancy cream paper, her name in curling script demanding I cease unpermitted agricultural activity because my vineyard was disrupting the community's aesthetic harmony. Aesthetic harmony. I laughed so hard I spilled my coffee. I sent her a polite reply, scanned deed, water rights, and a nudge to check her maps. My land predated her HOA by a century. Case closed, right? Wrong. Linda wasn't the type to back off. She had this vibe, part suburban dictator, part PDA mom on a power trip. I could have ignored her, but her next move was a thick packet, hand-delivered by some clipboard-toting HOA lackey who looked like he ironed his khakis with a ruler. It was a notice of violation, complete with Crestview's bylaws like those applied to mean a laundry list of complaints. My vines were a visual blight, my solar panels an industrial eyesore, my whole operation a fire risk. Fire risk? In a valley where I'd installed state-of-the-art drip irrigation? I didn't reply this time. Big mistake. To people like Linda, silence is blood in the water. She cranked up the heat. Suddenly, I'm getting visits, county zoning guy, environmental assessor, some lady claiming to be from landscape compliance. All routine, all based on anonymous tips. I'd show them my permits, offer iced tea, and ask for ID. Most left embarrassed, but the damage was spreading. Rumors hit the local diner. Tom's running an illegal winery. Tom's got toxic runoff. Tom's under investigation. Linda wasn't just whining. She was weaponizing the system. She even got Crestview's HOA to hold a community preservation meeting, complete with drone footage of my land probably illegal, calling my tasting room an assault on property values. One of her cronies, a retired realtor named Barb, called my vineyard a blight on Napa's charm. I invited Barb to say it to my face. Crickets. I should have seen it coming, but I was too busy grafting vines, calibrating sensors, prepping for a wine expo in San Francisco. I left for a 3-day trip, my truck loaded with samples and dreams of putting Willow Creek on the map. When I got back, my heart stopped. The iron gateristor from the original 1890s estate was bent like a giant had kicked it. The vineyard? 2 acres flattened, vines crushed into the dirt, irrigation lines shredded. The tasting roomy hand-laid granite. The bar I built from old barrels was a pile of rubble. Worst of all, the rose arch Sarah and I picked out in Bordeaux, a rusted beauty from the 1880s, was twisted in the mud like trash. I stood there, boots sinking into the churned-up earth, the air too quiet, like the land was holding its breath. Then I heard Joe, my neighbor, pulling up in his beat-up Ford, face pale as ash. "Tom, Jesus, I tried calling you," he stammered, pointing at the wreckage. 3 days ago, a bulldozer rolled in and marked, "Contractor crew." Said it was a county order, had papers, stamps, everything. I called the sheriff, but they said it was cleared. I knew it stank, Tom. They didn't just hit the vines, they aimed for the tasting room, like they wanted it personal. Personal? Oh, it was. Linda had gone nuclear. While I was gone, she'd forged county permits, faked an HOA petition, even conjured a non-existent fire marshal statement, all on Crestview letterhead. She'd paid a shady contractor with HOA funds, snuck them in via a back road only board members could access. If Joe hadn't raised hell, they'd have hit my water tank, poisoning the aquifer with diesel. The sheriff showed up too late, but the crew chief, some guy with a skull tattoo, shrugged and said, "Just following orders." The deputy saw Linda's name on the papers and froze. He knew she'd gone rogue. I didn't sleep that night, just sat on the farmhouse steps, a bottle of our 2019 reserve in my hands, cork unpopped. It wasn't just vines or stonite, it was Sarah's dream, my promise to her, crushed under Linda's ego. But as the sun rose, something shifted. Rage? Sure. But also clarity. Linda wanted a fight? She'd get one. By noon, I had my team, my lawyer, a surveyor, an insurance guy, and a water rights expert named Carl who owed me a favor. We dug into the deed. Those 1886 water rights meant I controlled the aquifer feeding Crestview's lawns, pools, their whole damn lifestyle. They didn't own that water. I did. So I signed the order, shut the valves. By day 2, Crestview's emerald lawns turned yellow. By day 4, their pool was a swamp, their ferns crispy. Linda's perfect front yard? A curling, dying mess. An HOA guy showed up, sweating through his polo, begging, "Mr. Hayes, my wife's roses, can we talk?" I handed him a laminated copy of the California Water Code. I could divert my water if my property was attacked. He left, head down. Then came the lawsuit, $4.2 million for property damage, fraud, trespass, and endangering the aquifer. The evidence was a slam dunk. Satellite images showing the bulldozer's path, HOA gate logs with Linda's keycard, emails where she told the contractor, "He's just a farmer, he won't fight." The notary she forged? A retired clerk who hadn't stamped a thing in years. The contractor flipped, the DA opened a fraud case, and Linda's house of cards collapsed. At trial, she sat there, pale, her lawyer stammering about public safety. The judge wasn't buying it. He held up a photo of the Rose Arch. "This was 130 years old," he said, voice like gravel. "You destroyed it for what? A better view?" I didn't grandstand. I just told the truth about Sarah, the vineyard, the quiet life I'd built. "I don't want revenge," I said. "I want it fixed." The gavel fell. Crestview HOA owed every penny. Linda got 10 years for fraud and destruction, no parole. The courtroom was dead silent, like everyone had exhaled at once. Crestview imploded. The HOA board was dissolved. A state auditor found Linda had skimmed funds for years' new deck, spa trips, even her dogs, grooming patrols. Residents rewrote the charter, added open voting, and some even apologized. Me? I rebuilt. New vines, a bigger tasting room, a sign above it, watered by law, labor, and Linda Grayson's lessons. The day we opened, a few Crestview folks showed up with bread and wine. No agenda, just respect. We toasted to second chances, not grudges. A year later, the vines were back, wilder, tougher, like they knew what they'd survived. Our new vintage, Crest Blanco, sold out in 48 hours, labeled best served cold. Locals loved it. I didn't explain the joke. Now, I sit under that rebuilt Rose Arch with Joe, cracking beers, watching stars over Napa. "Think she'll appeal?" he asked once. "Let her," I said, grinning. "I'll name the next rose after her, dry, bitter, and nobody's favorite." But here's the thing, justice feels good, but it's heavy. Was I right to cut their water? Was Linda a villain or just a control freak who lost her way? I don't know. What I do know is the land's still here, growing, enduring. So, what do you think? Did I go too far, or did Linda get what she deserved? Drop a comment, share your take. I'm curious. And if you've got your own HOA horror story, I'm all ears.